Hello everyone. This session is about the discussion of IA1 AVLSI IA1 solution. So the odd roll numbers were given question number 1, which was for 10 marks, and question number 2 for 20 marks. Even roll number were given question number 1 for 10 marks and question number 3 for 20 marks. So let us directly discuss and start with question number 1. So question number 1 says that we have to design a source follower to drive a 50 ohms load with a voltage gain of 0.5. So we have been given a load of 50 ohms and a voltage gain of 0.5, and our power budget is given as of 10 milliwatt. And some transistor parameters are given, such as mu n Cox is given as 100 microampere per volt square, VTH is given as 0.5, lambda is given 0, and gamma is given as 0. So that means channel end modulation is not present, as well as body effect is not concerned with. And VDD is given as 1.8. So whenever we say we have to design a source follower, now this is a source follower circuit, right? So when do we call it as a source follower? Whenever the input is applied to the gate and the output is taken from the source terminal. The circuit is called as a source follower. Whereas the M1 drain terminal is directly tied to the VDD. Correct. And what is the load over here? Load is your 50 ohms load, RL, right? So whenever we say we have to design a source follower, we have to find the aspect ratio of M1 transistor, that is W by L ratio. So let's begin with our solution. So first of all, we should know the formula for the voltage gain. And we have discussed this before for lambda equal to 0 and for gamma equal to 0, that is the body effect is not present. The voltage gain is given by RL divided by 1 upon GM plus RL. Okay, no need to discuss this further because we have already covered this before, right? So this is the formula for a source follower. From here, we have to find GM value, right? So AV value is given as 0.5, RL is given as 50. So from here, we can easily find the value of GM, and GM comes out to be 1 upon 50, ampere per volt, or it is unit is 1 upon ohm, right? And now they have been given power budget, right? So from power budget, we can find the value of ID. So PD is given as ID into VDD. Power is actually ID into VDD. So ID will be PD divided by VDD, and the power budget is 10 milliwatt. VDD is around 1.8 volt. So ID will be 1 upon 180. The whole unit will be amperes, correct? Now they have also, we have to assume that M1 transistor operates in the saturation region. Then only it will work successfully as a source follower. So if M1 is assumed to be saturation, we can write the GM formula as equal to square root of twice mu n Cox W over L into ID. So from here, mu n Cox value is known to us. GM value we have found out it's 1 upon 50. ID value we have found out it's 1 upon 180. So we have to just find the value of W by L. So we'll take the square on both the sides. You will get W by L is equal to GM square divided by twice mu n Cox into ID. So GM square is 1 upon 50 square and twice into 100 micro into ID, which is 1 upon 180. So if you solve this in the calculator, plug in all the values, you will definitely get the W by L ratio as 360 by 1. And therefore, we draw the design circuit over here, right? So the design source follower circuit for with the M1 aspect ratio will be 360:1. Okay, so that's how we solve this numerical number 1. So if you got the answer as W by L as 360 divided by 1 and all the intermediate steps correctly, that is the value of GM correctly and the value of ID correctly, then you will deserve full 10 marks for this question. Okay, so now let's move on to the question number 2. Question number 2 was around 20 marks. So let's understand the question thoroughly over here, and then we will jump into the solution. So in the following circuit, we assume that the transistors are operating in the saturation region. So there are 3 transistors over here. One NMOS transistor M1 and 2 PMOS transistor M2 and M3. Fine. So let us understand what they are asking us to find out. So assume all the transistors are operating in the saturation region. Also assume that lambda is equal to 0 and gamma is equal to 0. That means for all the transistors, lambda and gamma will be 0. That means no transistor will affect from body effect. Body effect is ignored. and your VDD is 1.8 volt. VB3 voltage, which is the biasing voltage for empty transistor, to keep it in saturation is given as 1.15 volt. Threshold voltage for NMOS is zero point 0.4 volt. Threshold voltage for PMOS is minus -0.4 volt. Mu n Cox is 800 microampere per volt square. W by L of 1 is 40. Mu P Cox value is given as 400 microampere per volt square. W by L of 2 is 40 and W by L of 3 is also 40. And the value of RS given over here is around 100 ohms, right? So this is our circuit given to us. So basically, if you see carefully, uh, these two M3 and M2 and M3 are not connected in parallel, because if you see carefully, M2 is a diode connected PMOS transistor, whereas M3 is not. M3 is not diode connected. We have connected a VB3 to bias the M3 in the saturation region. Fine. And we have M1, which is connected in the common source configuration, because input is applied to the gate terminal and output is taken from the drain terminal. At the input side, we have Vin and we have VB1. Now, VB1 is to bias the M1 transistor into saturation. So M1 transistor is biased into saturation with the help of VB1. M2 is already diode connected, so it's in saturation. And M3 transistor is in saturation with the help of VB3 biasing. Okay. So what are we supposed to find? We will discuss now. So find VB1 such that the bias current of M1 is 1 milliampere. So they're asking us to find VB1 biasing voltage such that the bias current flowing through M1 transistor is 1 milliampere. Then we have to calculate the voltage gain. So voltage gain will be V out upon V. The overall voltage gain of the circuit we have to find out. Next, we have to calculate the small signal output impedance seen at the output node V out. Okay. So we have to find the output impedance looking at the output node V out. So let us begin with our analysis. So we know all the transistors are working in the saturation. So the drain current ID1 will be same as I1, right? This is my I1 current flowing through M1 transistor is I1, which is same as your ID1. So ID1 can be written as, it's given as 1 milliampere. Its formula is half mu n Cox W over L of 1 into VGS1 minus VTH the whole square. Now lambda is 0, so that's why 1 plus lambda VDS terms doesn't come over here. Now we rearrange this equation in the form of VGS1. So VGS1 can be written as VTH plus square root of twice ID1 divided by mu n Cox W by L of 1. Now VTH value is 0.4. This is NMOS transistor which we are talking about. And ID value is 1 milliampere. Mu n Cox is 800 micro. W by L of 1 is 40. So we got the value of VGS1 as 0.65. Correct? We got the value of VGS1. That's point number 1. And we know what is VGS1. VGS1 is nothing but VG1 minus VS1. And what is VG1? VG1 is nothing but your VB1. So if we find the value of VG1, that is equal to VB1. And what is VS1? VS1 is nothing but minus I1 into RS. Okay, sorry, VS1 is I1 into RS, not minus. So your VG1 is VB1 and VS1 is I1 into RS. So your VB1 can be written as VGS1 plus I1 into RS. And we have just found out the value of VGS1, which is 0.65. I1 value is 1 milliampere and RS is given as 100 ohm. So we got the value of VB1 as 0.75 volt. Okay, so we got one part of the answer and that will fetch you some marks. So maybe this step, which you have calculated VB1 will fetch you some marks. Let's say 4 marks for this or 4 or 5 marks for this. Okay. Next, we have to calculate the voltage gain AV. So let us find out what the voltage gain AV is. So if you look carefully, this circuit looks like a common source amplifier with source degeneration like this, right? And what's the formula for this? AV is equal to minus RAD divided by 1 upon Gm plus RS. We have derived a formula for a common source amplifier with source degeneration. Now that's why we can write this as, because lambda is 0, so RO will be infinity. So AV is nothing but minus Gm. Now this transistor over here is M1 transistor. So this formula, which is AV is equal to minus RAD divided by 1 upon Gm plus RS, can be solved further as AV is equal to minus GM1 into RD divided by 1 plus GM1 into RS. It's one and the same thing. Only thing, this transistor will be M1. That's why we are writing GM1. Now let's see what is RD for this circuit. Okay. Now let us look into this a little more details. So M2 is a diode connected PMOS transistor. So if you look into the drain terminal, you will get equivalent impedance will be 1 upon GM2. We have seen this before. In fact, there will be the effect of channel end modulation, but channel end modulation is 0, so RO will be infinity. So if you look up into the terminal of drain terminal of M2, you will get 1 upon GM2. Similarly, for M3, if you look into the terminal, its gate terminal in the small signal analysis will be connected to the ground. Its source terminal will be connected to the ground. So if you look into the drain terminal, you will get RO3, right? And RO3 is nothing but infinity. We have considered all the transistors have lambda equal to 0. So basically, if you see carefully, the impedance looking into M2 will be 1 upon GM2, right? So we can replace this M2 transistor with RD, which is 1 upon GM2 only, correct? So that's why this circuit over here looks like a common source amplifier with source degeneration, where this transistor will be M1 transistor and the RD resistance will be nothing but 1 upon GM2. Okay, agreed? So that's why we can write this formula as AV is equal to gain formula equal to minus GM1 into RD divided by 1 plus GM1 into RS, where RD is what? RD is nothing but 1 upon GM2. So that's what we have written. RD is 1 upon GM2. Yeah. So once this is clear, let's proceed ahead. So next we find out the value of ID3. So ID3 is equal to half UP Cox W by L of 3 into VSG3 minus mod of VTHP, the whole square, right? Now remember, the current flowing through empty transistor is a PMOS transistor. So that's why we have all the PMOS terms over here, right? So we've simplified further. Half into mu p Cox is 400 micro, W by L of 3 is 40, VSG3 is nothing but 0.65. Let us understand how it is 0.65. So if you look carefully, over here, VSG3 is nothing but VS3 minus VG3. Let's look at the diagram. Okay. Yeah, let's look at this diagram over here. So VSG3 is VS3 minus VG3. What is VS3? VS3 is nothing but VDD, right? Source terminal of empty transistor is connected to VDD and the gate terminal is connected to VB3. Therefore, we write VSG3 is nothing but VDD minus VB3. And VB3 value is given to us. Its value is 1.15 and VDD is 1.8. So therefore, VSG3 is nothing but 0.65. So that 0.65 we substitute over here, minus 0.4 the whole square. So if you solve this, plug in all the values in the calculator, ID3 will be coming out to be minus 500 microamperes. Now, if you look carefully into this node over here, output node V out, I mean this node over here, right? So what do we get? We have incoming currents and we have outgoing currents. So incoming currents are ID2 and ID3 and outgoing current is ID1. So ID1 will be equal to ID2 plus ID3. Hence ID2 can be written as ID1 minus ID3. And ID1 is coming out, I mean, given as 1 milliampere, that is 1000 microamperes. And ID3 we just now found out to be 500 microamperes. So ID2 will be 500 microamperes. And why we require ID2? We want to find out the value of GM2. And why do we want to find the value of GM2? Because over here we have to find 1 upon GM2. And also we have to find GM1, correct? So let's do that. So we'll first find GM2. So since all the transistors are in saturation, so we can write GM2 is a PMOS transistor, remember? So GM2 will be square root of twice mu p Cox W by L of 2 into ID2. So mu p Cox value is 400 microamperes per volt square. W by L of 2 is 40 and ID2 is 500 microamperes. So if you plug in all the values over here, GM2 will come out to be 4 milliampere per volt. Okay. So we'll find the value of 1 upon GM2, that is RD, we substitute as. So 1 upon GM2 will be 1 upon 4 milli, that will be 250 ohms. Fine. Next, we find the value of GM1. So GM1 is square root of, again, M1 transistor is in saturation. So GM1 will be square root of twice, actually here it will be mu n, not mu p. Sorry for the mistake, because over here my M1 transistor is NMOS transistor. If you see carefully, M1 transistor is my NMOS transistor. So I have to pick the value of mu n from here. Okay, let me do that. Okay, so I'll take this. I have to correct the mistake over here. So here it will be, instead of mu p, it will be mu n. So let me add that over there. Yeah. So it will be twice mu n Cox W by L of 1 into ID1. Twice mu n Cox is 800 micro. W by L of 1 is 40. And ID1 is, 1 milliampere. So GM1 will be, actually this should be 1 over here. GM1. Okay. So let me add this. Okay, sorry for that. So this 1 will come over here. It is GM1. Because there are 3 different transistors, so that's why the naming is should be proper. So GM1 is 8 milliampere per volt. So finally we find the value of AV, which is minus GM1 into RD divided by 1 plus GM1 into RS. RD is 250 we calculated, GM1 is 8 micro, and RS is 100. So if you plug in the values, you will get the value of voltage gain as minus 1.11. So, it is a 20 marks question, right? So this finding the value of AV will fetch you maximum marks. Okay. So maybe let's say that for finding the, I know figuring out the formula also there will be some marks. For finding the value of ID3, VGS3, then GM2 and RD, GM1, and finally the value of AV. So definitely it will fetch around, if it is a 20 marks numerical, this step will fetch you around more than 10 marks, or maybe say, let's say 5 marks for, more than 10 marks, there is 12 marks for this finding the value of AV. Now, finally, we have to find out the output resistance looking at the output node, right? So let's look at this diagram over here. So what's the output resistance looking at the output impedance looking at the, at the output node V out. So the output resistance over here is very clear. It's 1 upon GM2. And we already calculated 1 upon GM2, that is 250 ohms. So basically our output resistance over here, I think it's loading a little. Let me, yeah. So output resistance R out looking at the output node will be 1 upon GM2, which is 250 ohms. Okay. So this will fetch you remaining 3 marks. So 12 plus 5 plus, around 3 will give you around 20 marks. Okay. So that's how the solution of question number 2 looks like. If you have any doubt, you can post your queries in the comment section. Okay. I hope it is clear. We have to find AV, which came out to be 1.11. You have to find the output impedance, which came out to be 250 ohms. And in the first step, we have to find the value of VB, which came out to be 0.75. So these are the 3 answers to A, B, and C. 0.75, AV is 1 point minus 1.11, and the small signal output impedance is around 250 ohms. Okay, so that's about it for question number 2. Now let's move on to question number 3. So question number 3 is again out of 20 marks. So let us first understand the question thoroughly. So in the question number 3, we have design a common source amplifier with a diode connected load. Okay, so based on the circuit shown below with the following design specifications. So first of all, we'll see the circuit. So it's a common source amplifier with a NMOS diode connected load. Fine with it? Your M1 and M2 are NMOS transistors. So let's look into detail about it. What's the specifications? So specifications given over here is that M1 is in saturation. The minimum possible output voltage to keep M1 in saturation is 0.2 volt. That means V out minimum is 0.2 volt. Total power consumption of the amplifier is 3 milliwatt, right? That is the total power of the amplifier. Then both transistors have channel length as same, 0.5 micrometer. And for transistor M2, we have W2 width equal to 1 micrometer. And the technology parameters are given. Lambda 1 and lambda 2 are 0. Gamma is 0 for both the transistors. And also VDD is 3 volt. VTH is 0.5 volt for both the NMOS transistors. And mu and Cox value is 1 milliampere per volt square. Okay. So basically, what we need to find is we need to design the common source amplifier. meaning we have to find the aspect ratio of M2 transistor and M1 transistor. Okay, so and also so there are certain things which we have to find out. Correct. So these are the things which we have to find out. We have to find the following: DC level of the input. That means the biasing, voltage of for the M1 transistor. DC level of the output. That is V out DC, and then width W1 of the transistor M1. So we have to find the width of the transistor M1. Then the small signal voltage gain, and finally the maximum output voltage swing for a symmetric output signal. You have to find maximum output voltage signal swing for a symmetric output signal. So let's begin with the analysis. This is a straightforward NMOS diode connected MOSFET amplifier basically. So let's begin. So first we have to find the DC level of the input. So here I have marked various nodes over here, drain 2, gate 2 and source 2, drain 1, gate 1 and source 1. I have not deliberately shown the body terminal because even though the body effect is ignored for all, so no meaning of showing that. Okay, so M1 transistor must operate in saturation. If M1 transistor should operate in saturation, your VDS1 should be greater than or equal to VGS1 minus VTH. What is VDS1 over here? If you see carefully, VDS1 is nothing but my V out. And what is VGS1? VGS1 is nothing but VG1 minus VS1. Now VS1 is grounded, so VG1 will be V bias voltage. Okay, so let me define this voltage as V bias voltage. So we have to find that DC level of the input. So that means V out should be greater than or equal to V bias minus VTH. So basically your M1 will operate at the edge of saturation whenever your V out is at its minimum value. Okay, so whenever V out will have its minimum value, your M1 will operate at the edge of saturation. That means V out V bias value should be equal to V out minimum plus VTH. So from 1.1 only we can rewrite this as V bias is equal to, now why equal to, because M1 will operate at the edge of saturation when output is minimum. V out is at its minimum value. So therefore, we can rewrite this expression as V bias is equal to V out plus VTH, or V out minimum minus VTH. Okay. So what is V out minimum given to us? 0.2, and VTH value is 0.5. That's right. Correct. Let's check it out. VTH value is 0.5. Yes, correct. So your 0.2 plus 0.5 will give you 0.7. So your V bias is nothing but my DC level of the input. Fine. So we have found out that first step. So next, the power is given as, the power consumption is given as 3 milliwatt. So power consumption is nothing but VDD into ID. So ID will be power upon VDD. That will be 3 milliwatt upon 3 volt, which will be 1 milliamperes. Correct. So this ID value is nothing but 1 milliampere. Now we note, since both M1 and M2 are connected in series, the current flowing through M2 and the current flowing through M1 will be same. So we can say that the current ID is same as your ID2, which is 1 milliampere. And ID2 formula is what? Half mu n Cox W2 upon L2 into VGS2 minus VTH the whole square. So from here, we can rewrite the same formula as VGS2. So VGS2 is equal to VTH plus square root of twice ID into mu n Cox into W by L of 2. Now VTH value is available. ID value we found out it is 1 milliampere. Mu n Cox value is given as 1 milli, and W by L of 2 is given as 1 divided by 0.5. Correct? W2 is given as 1 micrometer. L2 is 0.5 micrometer for both the transistors. So if you plug in these values in the calculator, you will get the value of VGS2 as 1.5 volt. Okay. So now we will find the value of V out of DC. So let's go to the circuit again. So what is V out of DC level? What is the DC level of it? It will be VDD minus VDS2. Agree? So V out DC value level will be VDD minus VDS2. So let's find out that. Or we can also say, since M2 transistor is a diode connected, VGS2 is same as your VDS2. So we already found out the value of VGS2. So output DC value will be, DC level of the output will be VDD minus VGS2. or it is VDD minus VDS2. Both are the same because M2 is direct connected. So we already got the value of VGS2. So V out DC level will be VDD minus VGS2 because M2 is direct connected. VDD is 3 volt and VGS2 is 1.5. So V out of DC level will be equal to 1.5 volt. Okay, so we have found out the next value. Next one, that is V out output level of the output DC level, right? DC level of the output, DC level of the input is found out. Next, we have to find out W1, and next we have to find out the small signal voltage gain. So let's proceed ahead in this. So next, what is ID? Same current flows through M1 and M2. So ID is equal to ID1, which is equal to 1 milliampere. Now ID1 formula is half mu n Cox W by L of 1 into VGS1 minus VTH the whole square, right? And what is VGS1? Your VGS1 is nothing but your DC level of your input, correct? If I look into the formula, your VGS1 is nothing but V bias voltage. So V bias is 0.7. So your VGS1 will be 0.7 volt. Okay, so here we want the unknown value of W by we want the value of W1, right? So we substitute W by L of 1 and rearrange the term. You will get W by L of 1 is equal to twice ID divided by mu n Cox into VGS1 minus VTH the whole square. So over here we have the value of ID. We have Wn into mu n into Cox, which is 1 milli amperes per 1 milliampere per volt square, and VGS1 is 0.7 volt, VTH is 0.5, right? So 0.7 minus 0.5 the whole square. So if you plug in all the values in the calculator, you will get W by L of 1 is equal to 50. Now, L1 is given as 1 micrometer, correct? So W1 will be 1 micrometer into 50. That will be around 25 micrometer. So the width of the transistor 1 will be 25 micrometer. Agree? Okay. Now, what is the formula for the diode connected MOSFET? If lambda is equal to 0 and gamma is equal to 0, it is nothing but GM1 into, here it is the formula is given over here, it is minus GM1 into 1 upon GM2. Okay, so that's the formula for your diode connected MOSFET for lambda equal to 0 and gamma is equal to 0. So here it is the ratio of GM1 upon GM2. So GM1 is square root of twice mu n Cox W by L of 1 into ID1, and GM2 is nothing but twice mu n Cox W by L of 2 into ID2. So basically twice mu n Cox will cancel out. ID1 and ID2 are same because that is same current flowing through both the transistors. L1 and L2, the channel length is same for both the MOSFETs. So your AV is nothing but minus of square root of W1 upon W2. And W1 we found out to be 25 micrometer and W2 is given as 1 micrometer. So square root of 25 will be minus 5. So your voltage gain of your common source amplifier with NMOS diode connected load came out to be equal to minus 5. Okay, so the voltage gain of this amplifier will be minus 5. So we have found out the small signal voltage gain. Last is that we have to find out the maximum output voltage swing for a symmetric output signal. Symmetric means your positive peak and a negative peak should be symmetric. So let's find out the maximum output signal swing. Last point over here, right? So up till here, you will get around 15 marks and last point will be fetching you 5 marks. So over here, our V out minimum value is given as 0.2. It is given in the numerical. V out DC value, we found out it's 1.5. So we need to calculate V out max in order to calculate the output voltage swing. So we know that M2 is a diode connected MOSFET. Here it is. I'll show it to you again. M2 is a diode connected because its gate and drain terminal are tied together. So if M2 is diode connected, it will be guaranteed in working in the saturation region. That is for sure, right? So M2 is in saturation. So when we can say M2 is in saturation, whenever VGS2 is greater than VTH. That is VGS2 is greater than 0.5. VTH is 0.5, right? So we can say we can say that if VGS2 is greater than 0.5, minus VGS2 is less than minus 0.5, correct? And now what do we do is we just add VDD to both the sides. So we get VDD minus VGS2 less than VDD minus 0.5, correct? And what is VDD minus VGS2? Let's go back to the diagram over here. So VDD minus VGS2 is nothing, but we have said this before. VDD minus VGS2 is nothing but your V out value. Okay. So let's go back over here. So we plug in that value over here. VDD minus VGS2 is nothing but V out. So your V out should be less than VDD minus 0.5. VDD is around 3 volt. So V out value should be less than 2.5. Okay. So that means the maximum value of V out will be 2.5. So we have this scenario over here now. V out max is 2.5. V out DC is 1.5 and V out minimum is 1.5. So basically when you go from 1.5 to 2.5, we have a 1 volt swing in the positive direction. And when you go from 1.5 to 0.2 volts, we have a 1.3 volt swing in the negative direction. But what do we want? We want a maximum symmetric swing at the output. So what do we do is we define these levels, V out max, V out DC and V out minimum. So what will happen over here? We'll get a maximum swing at the top over here. That the maximum swing will be 1 volt. When you go from 1.5 to 2.5 volt, you will get one swing. I mean 1 volt swing. Below also, if you want a 1 volt swing, you have to have 1.5 going up till 0.5. So there will be a 0.3 gap over here, volts gap over here. That's absolutely fine. So this is how the symmetric output swing will look like. The symmetric output swing will be 2 volt. Now let me explain this using numbers. So your maximum symmetric swing at the output will be twice into minimum of 1 volt, comma 1.3 volt. So here it is 1 volt and 1.3 volt. So we want a symmetric swing. If we want a maximum, swing at the output, that would have been 1 volt plus 1.3. But we don't want that. We want a symmetric output swing. So that will be 1 volt plus 1 volt, or we can say twice of minimum of 1 volt, comma 1.3. That will be 2 volt. So this is my maximum symmetric swing at the output for my current numerical or current given amplifier. Okay. And this point will fetch you remaining 5 marks. So in this way, we have found out and we have discussed about the solution of numerical number 3, which is again is of 20 marks. Okay. So in the exam, if they ask you, you have to explain this step by step. And we found out all the levels over here. I mean, all the questions we have answered. First, we have found out the DC level of the input, then DC level of the output, then width of transistor W1, the small signal voltage gain, which came out to be -5, and then the maximum output swing for a symmetric output signal that came out to be around 2 volt. Okay, so that completes the solution part of AVLSI IA1. Okay, if you have any query in any numerical, you can ask the doubt in the comment section. So that's all for today. Next time we will begin with some other topic. So until then, have a good day and thank you.